Hello, I'm the Angry Spork, and I'm taking issue with Tech Jacket. Last time, the death of a scout ship of the lizard-esque Geldarians resulted in an Earthling named Zack coming into possession of the titular jacket, an alien suit that granted him amazing abilities. Attack tendrils that fended off mobsters looking to collect on a loan from his dad, soda can destroying laser blasts, and never having to bathe again. Unfortunately, some aliens have arrived from the war-ravaged Geldaria to investigate the teens' activities, wearing tech jackets of their own.
Issue 3 picks up right where we left off, with the lead Geldarian telling Zack he's headed for trial. And this guy must be on edge, because the teen literally gets one word out, then Orange Guy bellows for him to be silent and zaps him unconscious. Zack wakes up with his suit withdrawn and secured to the wall of a ship. An explosion blows a hole right in the wall next to him, and his suit immediately activates to protect him. The Orange Guy arrives, unshackles Zack, telling the villain to be quiet when he asks what's going on. Orange explains that they're under attack, and he secures a device to Zack's cuffed hands, which will taxi him to Geldaria while they fight off a Kresh ambush. Can't have the newbie killed before going on trial, after all. Zack watches the battle unfold as he's led away.
The downside is that after seeing this, both Star Wars and Iron Man movies are going to be utterly boring to him now.
Then the luckiest misfire in the galaxy from an enemy blaster frees Zack, and he can go into the vastness of space. Having little other choice, he joins the battle and defends his captors, starting off by grabbing two Kresh and slamming them together, causing them to pop like large balloons. Guess they didn't want to get too graphic, because all you see are bits of their suits and debris. Both sides are stunned by such a display of power, even Zack, and he proceeds to grab more Kresh and chuck them at their own ship, causing it to explode and ending the conflict. While Zack's not too keen on a trial, his abductors are his only way back home, and he'll go along so long as they promise he won't be harmed. Orange is wary of someone having that much power, but from his display of courage, he'll speak on the Earthling's behalf. The very next page, and our boy is already off the hook. An unidentified but official-looking Geldarian says his story meshes with the info from his tech jacket about the events of the first issue and his choice to save his captors, even though he is technically violating their sacred decree that the jackets are for Geldarians only.
Hey, you guys kind of look like lizards, so I gotta ask, if someone cut your tail off, would it grow back? I do not have a tail. Oh, so I guess it's no. Hey, how'd you lose it anyway? Ugh.
Way back when, Geldarian technology had advanced to the point where their every need was taken care of, and they barely lifted a finger, which eventually left their bodies all but useless. Fortunately, their scientists anticipated this and developed the tech jackets. Attached at birth, they develop alongside the Geldarians, specializing and learning for their day-to-day activities while enhancing speed and strength. As other Geldarians follow them, not really contributing anything else to the scene, we find out Zack's suit is of a warrior stock, which is why combat came so naturally. But due to his differing physiology, the jacket is much more powerful than it ought to be, about centuple his normal strength.
That's right. Zack now has the strength of 100 lonely teenagers. Evil beware!
The Geldarians' only decree is thought by some to prevent the existence of someone with Zack's power, but they're at war and could use his help. After some training from one of their warriors, of course. Zack complies, saying he'll gladly stay and fight as long as they need?
Dude! Have you already forgotten about the two mobsters that have twice assaulted your dad and are just waiting for a chance to get back at him when you're not around to protect him with your fancy alien suit? Don't get me wrong, it's noble for the kid to want to help end a war, but it's a war they can drag on for years, and he doesn't even seem to consider his situation at home, which is a giant insult to the people that raised him, like he just plain forgot about them. At least see about sending a message home to let them know that you're okay.
Zack's trainer will be Kanda, the orange leader of the squad that brought him in. They explain how they can understand each other, Zack's suit rudimentarily learning his language, adding it to the Gildarian database, and translating accordingly. But enough exposition, on to the training. Kanda begins by taking Zack into a wooded area, saying he needs to overcome the weakness of his normal senses. Like I haven't heard that a million times over the last month.
Okay, that line just plain doesn't make any sense. He's had this thing for a couple of days. For what reason has he been repeatedly told about overcoming his natural senses?
The suit's sensors are far superior, so he needs to master letting it do the work to complete his training. So, master laziness? Zack is led to a circular clearing and suddenly attacked by lasers. They're non-lethal, but still pretty painful, and the blasts are too well shielded to be destroyed. The trick is to hit the target next to each gun by approximating his blasts and letting the jacket do the rest. And that's all it takes for the kid to do just that. After he hits each target, he's winded, and Kanda believes he's ready.
That's not much of a learning curve, is it? That's really more of a learning straight line while someone else drives and you take a nap in the back.
And before you know it, Zack is on a ship full of soldiers headed to a moon base that's been under siege for a couple days. A Geldarian asks if he's the rumored one to have the power to end the war, and Zack replies that he's the one they're talking about, though doesn't know if one guy can end a war. The battle begins, and Zack is naturally doing dandy. Note how he knocks off the helmet of a crushed soldier, but at no point do you see a head. Are these inflatable enemies or something? Our focus is entirely on Zack, as he bundles some Kresh together into a ball and throws it away, and I guess rapid firing at them when they scatter. I say I guess because it could be that, or he threw some soldiers and then shot at others. Whichever it is, the Kresh retreat, and as he holds the remnants of one's suit, he wonders if future battles will be this easy.
Hey, no reading ahead!
Afterwards, Zack and the other soldiers receive the Crest of Geldaria, the highest honor they can bestow. He asks Kanda about a girl that's been eyeing him the entire ceremony, and she turns out to be Lyn, the monarch's offspring. So, basically a princess, and given how many people are talking about the Earther, he should be accustomed to popularity. Also, it turns out that guy in the red cloak, whom earlier told Zack he was cleared of wrongdoing, is the king.
No one would have been a good time to mention that when we saw him earlier in the issue talking to Zack.
Later on, Lyn catches up with this alien celebrity and wishes him luck on his next mission, which he doesn't even know anything about yet. She heard about it before him because even though she can't contribute directly to the war effort, she still has her ways of spying for intel. She kisses him on the cheek and departs, and Zack... yeah, this is definitely a first for him. Though kiss on the cheek from an alien princess, I imagine that'd be a first for a lot of people.
Hey, you might actually get a date for the prom, and all you have to do is end a centuries-long war.
At the mission briefing, Zack is introduced to Dr. Rulsa, who looks a lot like if someone cloned Albert Einstein with Yoda's DNA thrown in. A Kresh stronghold orbiting nearby planet Theta has quashed any attack on it, possibly due to sensors on Theta itself, sensors they've failed to locate. However, they've had a working teleportation device for almost a year that's been upgraded to flawlessness. Unfortunately, while they can get into enemy territory undetected without a mirror unit, it's strictly a one-way trip. This would be suicide for usual Geldarian soldiers, but Zack has become their advantage. He could pop in, cause as much damage as possible, and take out their defenses. Upon leaving the base, his jacket's signal would give the enemy's location, and a Geldarian army would arrive to destroy what's left. They can start tomorrow, and Zack's response is, yeah, that's good.
This kid is way too well adjusted to all this, especially for a teenager. You're in an intergalactic war! Look nervous!
Next page, next day, and Zack is ready to get this over with. The teleporter is ready, and our hero walks through, and falls on his backside on the other side to a large clang. Hoping no one heard that, he's fully armored and walking through this strange building, and is soon surrounded by Kresh forces.
You're the one that wanted this over quickly. You didn't say anything about surviving. You gotta specify these things, kiddo.
After the story is a pinup of an armored Zack saving a kitten from an exploding building. Next up, issue 4, with a cover that doesn't bode well for our hero. Still surrounded and heavily outnumbered, Zack snarks about any one of them pointing him to the exit. The Kresh must not have much of a sense of humor because they start attacking. He jets upward, but the horde follows him, right through a wall and into a room with a glowing green column. They play dogpile on the webbit until a vague blast wave attack or something propels them off. Figuring he's got one chance, our boy makes it a good one, creating numerous blast cannons with the suit and firing them simultaneously, resulting in the destruction of the Kresh vessel. Zack sorta just chills out, floating in space near what is likely planet Veda, noting how tough these guys weren't, and is curious how he'll get back to Geldaria. The jacket reacts, engaging engines and setting course for its home world. This is convenient.
A lot of that going around in this comic.
On a 2-page spread, not letting us know how much time it took him to return, Zack finds a Geldarian city under attack from Kresh forces, with at least one Geldarian vessel fighting back. Figuring they struck after detecting him on the command ship, Zack counterattacks, taking out some enemy soldiers and rallying fellow Tech Jacket warriors to help him get close to the warships. Yet when one of those nameless fighters gets hit, he tells the others to fall back, as they're not strong enough. My, but that was a quick 180, and way to add insult to fatality.
This seemed like a very weird turn of events. It's like they want to establish that the Geldarians aren't just pushovers, so they have those jacket users fighting and participating, and even trying to help Zack out, despite the fact they've also established why he's so much more powerful. But at the same time, they want Zack to be some kind of lone wolf looking out for their safety. I think the pacing they have is just a bit too quick, and it lost some of the drama as a result.
Rather effortlessly, Zack reaches one of the warships and pushes it into collision with another, destroying both. This would have been a good place to have him tell the suit to ramp up the thrusters, showing some kind of difficulty involved, but they have already established the jacket is supposed to do the needed work instinctively. Zack helps out a Geldarian by taking the Kresh soldier, overwhelming him, and chucking the enemy at ground forces threatening civilians. They continue to advance, marching over their fallen comrade, and Zack shields a woman and her child, telling her to run as he fights them off. One Kresh among the ensuing horde blasts a portion off a building, and the rubble falls towards the 2 lives Zack tried to protect, and in a fairly tame sequence, cuts right to our main character's horrified reaction. He then goes rampage mode, the clearest sign they didn't make it, blasting, smashing, and throwing the Kresh soldiers about, before pouncing on one and beating him over and over until the Geldarian king suddenly appears and tells him it's over. Weird to see royalty strolling alone in a war zone, and if you look closely, it doesn't look like that Kresh has a head anymore.
Now, I can understand and respect that they may not want to be too graphic with the violence or the results thereof, but it seems plain brutal to save a mother and baby only to kill them off, even if you don't fully see it. Sure, it happens in war, tragically, but for escapist entertainment, it feels especially cruel. The only possible redeeming factor is if this actually has a long-lasting effect on Zack. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. It just doesn't.
The king announces to gathered survivors that with the Kresh retreating, their war is finally over. They've cities to rebuild and dead to bury, but should also rejoice. Those who have fallen did so at a chance for the peace they've not known for hundreds of years, and their sacrifice will be remembered. Later, Zack is told he can finally go home, and gets to keep his weaponized long johns. Not just because he's earned it with helping end the war, but also due to the process of removing the tech jacket likely being fatal.
Really? Kelda didn't have any problem transferring the jacket to me when he was dying, and just before that giant explosion that... Oh...
However, he needs to understand the burden of having a power greater than anything else on Earth, that it must be used wisely and not for ill. With a fairly dorky-looking expression, Zack says they can trust him, and they're not in doubt. Konda will chauffeur him immediately, since he's done more than his share and has been away from home for too long. Though how long is still in question. Zack mentions how nice it'll be to see his parents again. You know, the dad that's indebted to criminals and the mom that isn't told anything. The royal family says farewell, the transport takes off, and as they leave to tend to the work that needs a-doin', Lin looks back solemnly.
That girl's got Terran fever! Terran fever, I say!
Konda's ship approaches Earth, with Zack replying, "Not a week too soon." I don't know if he's only joking about how long the trip is taking, or if it's actually taken a week for them to get there. The book hasn't been great about noting the passage of time. The vessel stops just outside Earth's atmosphere, and Zack says see you later, while Konda says goodbye. Maybe only one of them expects to see the other ever again. Anyway, the kid flies the rest of the way back, sheathing his suit while hidden in the trees we've seen him spend so much time in previously, and then runs the rest of the way home. Take note of the mailbox as he approaches the door, how overstuffed it is. He grabs a spare key from underneath a potted plant, anticipating surprising his parents, but opens the door to an empty house. Maybe this stylized pinup knows something?
I guess your parents gave you as much thought as you gave them when you signed up for an alien war and decided to sell all their stuff to fund a second honeymoon. Tune in next week for the final issues for the review, and if things keep going easy for this kid.